morning, everybody. I'm coming to you from a secret location deep in somewhere. Today's plant of the day is going to be the wonderful tomato, and this is a request from Lisa Fitz and her children Finn and Poppy, so I hope you guys grow awesome tomatoes this summer. The tomato is from the Solanaceae family, which is the nightshade family that potatoes are from and tobacco is from, and originally came from South America. The Aztecs were growing and eating it from 700 AD. In fact, way before then. The Aztecs were like, in fact, most of our vegetables are from South America, like the good ones, the really good ones, the potatoes. The potatoes. We'll get there, we'll get the potatoes very soon. Maybe Monday. So Christopher Columbus, the great raper and pillager, brought back tomatoes to Europe, and Southern Europe said yes, and Northern Europe said no. Mostly because the English really didn't like tomatoes. And it's not, I know that people think of tomatoes, they were seen as a bit of a sexy thing that would inflame the passions, but that wasn't why they didn't like tomatoes. The rich people in England would eat off pewter flatware platters, and they were very high in lead content, and any acidic type of food would then leach the lead out of it, and then they would be eating them, and then they would get poisoned and die. However, the poor people were eating off wooden plates, and they thought tomatoes were fabulous, so a lot of the Italians got into it, and so poor people were fine. They were like, tomatoes, yay. Rich people, not so much, because they were dying. The Italians obviously took over the tomato and made them really popular, especially when they mass immigrated to America. And then of course there's pizza, and again, who doesn't love pizza? Freaks don't love pizzas. Okay, freaky people don't love pizzas. So, and the pizza itself, the colours of a margherita, the red, the white and the green are to symbolise the Italian flag, apparently. Now, back to the tomato itself. Is it a fruit or is it a vegetable? Well, the theory is it's a fruit because it has fruit with that. The botanists would say it's got fruit because it's got seeds inside it, it's fleshy, and you know, it's like a fruit. However, the US Supreme Court in the 1800s said it was a vegetable. Now, the reason why they said it was a vegetable is because it was classed as a fruit and it wasn't taxable. So then they went, well, hell, it's a vegetable, now we can tax it. So in America, it's a vegetable. Everywhere else, still a fruit. Tomatoes are rich in antioxidants, they're good for your heart, and they're rich in lycopene. So the Latin name is Solanum, sorry, my Latin's horrible, I speak not fluent Latin. Solanum lycopersicum, and so they're really good for your heart, they're good against certain types of cancer, but they're, weirdly enough, slightly better for you when they're cooked. It sort of gives more of the nutrients out, more of the vitamins out. So it's vitamin A, vitamin C, potassium and calcium. The first types of tomatoes were yellow, small and yellow, and in fact some of the best tomatoes are still small and yellow. I really like cherry tomatoes. I really like the small to medium sized tomatoes, and I really like to pick them straight off the bush, preferably when it's a hot day, so they give out that proper flavour. Like cold tomatoes are a sin against nature as far as I'm concerned. Those big bladdery ones that are cold, that come, that are don't bother. Grow little ones, and they're much tastier, and then you've got lots of them. The Spanish love tomatoes so much they have a tomato throwing festival, which I think sounds cool, if maybe a bit wasteful. And tomatoes are the symbol of the Dutch Socialist Party because they symbolise, throwing tomatoes, rotten tomatoes, symbolised protest. So that was they were like, hey, let's have a tomato as our symbol. Tomatoes love growing with basil. They like being eaten with basil. Actually, they don't really. Most plants don't really like being eaten. I know that sounds a bit weird. I did ask them once. They need lots of nutrition. So here I have a sun gold tomato, and it's a good few weeks old. So these were planted into tiny little modules first, like small, like smaller containers like this. And then once they came up, they were transplanted when they had their sort of true leaves. So when they were, okay, let's do it like this. There's one. Right, so now I would transplant these out now, and I would put them in their next pot, but up to there with compost, and that will actually get them going bushier. These guys are almost ready to plant in the ground. In Ireland, planting them outside is like high risk, like you're a dangerous gambler type person. So most people plant them in polytunnels, which is fair enough. To get really decent tomato plants, it's great to dig a trench. I've heard of people putting in fish heads into their trench, and bone meal, nettles. So you want to have a fairly deep trench for it. It doesn't have to be really wide, but fairly deep. And then put all the good stuff at the bottom. Like you want so by the time the roots get there, the plant is ready to fruit, and then that will give you really nice fruit. So again, bone meal. I was going to say relatives, but that's a terrible thing to say. Small animals that have died, all that sort of stuff should go in deep into the trench, and it'll give you really good tomatoes. So fish heads and yucky stuff, stick that down there and they will give you great fruit. They need staking. If you're a tobacco smoker, wash your hands. In fact, just wash your hands, but wash your hands before dealing with tomatoes. Tobacco carries a disease, similar sort of diseases to tomatoes, and that can spread them. And they're really quite sad. They don't like being watered on their leaves, so water them from the base. However, if they get red spider mite, if you're in a tunnel, they will need to be misted, because that'll get rid of the red spider mite. That and good airflow. So what else can I tell you? Stake them, grow them, plant them. Anything else that's interesting? Not really. I'm sorry, I didn't come up with a poem or anything. Oh, I did. I actually looked for a poem about tomatoes, and they were all kids' poems, and they were really they were a bit painful. So the only one that I even liked had one line in it, and it said, "My taste is tangy, my shape is round." And I thought, that's actually like lots of us. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your tomatoes.